What's up, and welcome to another episode of Movie Pitch Monday. This is a show where I pitch hypothetical movies, and if you don't know who I am, I'm Edward Mullen. I'm the author of the Art of the Hustle series, the PRODIGY series, Eden, the Secret Manuscript, and about a dozen other books. So in today's movie pitch, I'm going to be pitching a Mask sequel. Now, I understand there is a Mask sequel. It's called The Son of the Mask. I haven't seen it. And I think there's a cartoon. I haven't seen that. So admittedly, I don't really know that much about The Mask. I saw the 1994 Jim Carrey movie back when it came out, and I read issue 1, like book 1 of the comic book, which kind of follows the same storyline as the Jim Carrey movie, but it's much more kind of graphic and violent. All right, so my pitch takes place modern day, almost 25 years after the first movie, on the same timeline. And the opening scene, we start with this like underground auction, and it's like in a warehouse or something. There's an auctioneer, some kind of nerdy looking dude, and a bunch of groups like bidding on some like black market stuff, right? There's like, Russian gangsters, American gangsters, like Chinese gangsters, a bunch of kind of different groups of people, and they're all like bidding for these like weapons and all this kind of stuff. So the auctioneer goes, the next item up for bid bestows godlike powers to whoever wore it. The origins of the mask are not quite known or fully understood, but is believed to exist, from the 4th to 5th century, from the Norse god Loki, who's a nocturnal god who, seems fitting because this mask only works at night. So this is kind of some exposition for the people, new people coming into this franchise, or for people who don't remember kind of the origins of the comic or the movie from 1994. And so, he's describing some of the powers and what it will do, and everybody's getting really excited. And he's like, all right, opening bid, do I have $10 million? And suddenly all the gangsters, they get really interested. The paddles start going up. They're like, yeah, I'll do 10 million. Okay, I'll do 15 million. I'll do 20 million. And it's going crazy. Like, whoever has this is like basically given like godlike powers. It's like a superhero. So everyone is like, vying for this thing. Now, before the auction ends, little do these guys know, the whole place is surrounded by cops, and they're just kind of waiting for their moment. So the cops bust in before the auction ends. The cops bust in and storm the place, and one of the Chinese guys, he grabs the mask and he puts it on, and he spins out of control, and he becomes the mask the first kind of version of the mask. And he's doing a lot of crazy stuff. He doesn't really fully understand the powers or how to use it, and it becomes like an all-out firefight. Like, all the gangsters, duck for cover. They're shooting. The cops, they pull back. They're like, look, if these guys are just going to start shooting at each other and killing each other, maybe that's not such a bad thing. Let's just kind of hang back. So the Chinese guys, they have the mask. They're good. And maybe they steal some other things that were up for auction, like some weapons or whatever. And so they make it out the back door, and they jump into like a fleet of Mercedes, and they take off. Now, the cops are giving chase. The Americans feel like double-crossed because, these gangsters like stole the mask that they were competing for. The Russians are pissed. Everyone's chasing. So we're seeing this huge chase, swerving in and out of traffic. And the people are firing at the Mercedes, and, they're firing back. It's crazy, right? So the Chinese guy's still in the mask kind of costume. He gets out of the car, and on the hood, like on the roof of the car, and he jumps off and smashes 2 feet plants in like one of the lead cop cars, and it flips end over end, and it smashes. Other cars kind of on the road are spinning out of control and flipping over, and he's bouncing from hood to hood to hood and smashing all these cars. It creates this massive pileup. Guys, this is the opening scene of this movie, and it's like epic, chaotic action, and there's explosions in cars. And eventually the Chinese guy gets into a car, and they drive off. And that's like the opening scene of the movie. All right, so the end of that scene, the cop, one of the lead cops in charge of the whole thing, he, arrests a bunch of people. Some of the Russians, some of the Americans, some of maybe not the Chinese, they got away. But, it's not a complete loss. And this is a high profile case. There's people with like cell phones taking video of this mask, like flipping around. This is something they haven't seen before, or maybe in a long time. It's crazy, right? And it's blowing up social media. It becomes a huge global sensation news story. Everybody's talking about this, right? So the story follows the lead cop. He's kind of like our protagonist in this. And he goes home after a very long and exhausting night, and he's, you know, being hounded by paparazzi and camera crews. They're outside of his house. Everyone wants to talk about this, and he has never been in such a high profile case. He goes home and he's got a little daughter. She's maybe, I don't know, 15. And she has some friends, boys and girls, and they're, you know, into kind of geek culture. They're, you know, watching video or playing video games and watching movies and that kind of stuff. And so they're excited to talk to their dad about it. And they're like, look, we've been watching the videos online, checking out social media. This thing is like huge. And, you know, according to our research, you know, this mask is, you know, from blah, blah, blah. And they start giving him more of the backstory of the mask. Now, there's another storyline that I want to follow, which is, you know, one of the kind of American gangsters. It's this African-American kid. Let's call him Chris. And Chris is maybe like 19, 20. And he was one of the guys that got arrested. Now, his little brother, who's maybe 15, is... you know, he's not a gangster, but, you know, they don't have a strong male, like, role model in the house. And so for the little brother, he's really looked up to his older brother, Chris, as, like, this strong male figure, almost like a father figure. And maybe, you know, the mom is sick or something like that. I don't know. But so Chris gets arrested. And the little brother is really, really upset about this. So him and his homies, they're not gangsters, but they, like... The older brother is trying to protect his little brother and to dissuade him from this life of crime. He's like, no, man, you're a good student. Just go to class, study, go to college, get a legit job. Don't follow in my path. And so, you know, they're having a conversation behind glass. He's in jail or whatever, awaiting trial. And the little brother is like, you know what? I'm gonna do something about this. And him and his homies go to... like the Chinese, they actually know the daughter of one of the Chinese gangsters, and they just like roll up on her and they just jack her. They like put her in a van and they kidnap her, right? And they communicate with the Chinese guy. They're like, yo, if you ever want to see your daughter again, hand over the mask. And so the Chinese guy, he's like, loves his daughter. He's like, well, shit, I have to give this mask to these kids. So he shows up, there's an exchange, mask for the girl, boom. And so now the black kids have it. And he puts it on, like the little 15-year-old kid, and he starts going crazy, spinning around, and, you know, they're having fun. They're like, you know, getting revenge on people and, you know, maybe robbing some like banks. There's kind of similar stuff we saw in the first Jim Carrey movie. All right, so the kids are going back and forth, you know, taking turns, trying the mask on, and there's lots of crime and property damage, and they're just drunk with power. It's so fun to them. But of course, as you know, sun comes up, powers go away. This is when the Russians plan their attack. So I'm following multiple storylines. The Russians show up. They have guns. These kids are freaking out. They hand over the mask. Now the Russians have it. All right, so the city is freaking out. The Russian guy is going crazy. You know, same kind of stuff. Drunk with power, stealing things, killing his enemies. Then, from seemingly out of nowhere, a new mask shows up. Somebody in like a red mask who like smashes the Russian guy, takes out the Chinese, you know, crushes the Americans, and nobody knows who this person is, and everyone's freaking out. Like, are they good? Are they bad? I don't know. We don't know what to kind of make of this new mask. And why is there a new one? There's like a green mask, a red mask, and maybe here some of the kids from like the cop, the daughter, and the friends, maybe they kind of fill in the backstory like, hey man, a lot of people online are saying that this is kind of like a good and evil thing, and I think that red mask is evil, right? So nobody knows where the green mask is. The red mask, now the sun has risen, everything's kind of calm, the dust has settled. The red mask is out there. We don't know who it is. The green mask, we don't really know who has the mask. The Russians are like, yo, I don't have it. Chinese guys, yo, I don't have it. It turns out the little brother has it. The little black kid from, you know, Chris's little brother. He got it somehow. He, you know, when the Russian got defeated, he got knocked out and he pulled it off and he ran away. We don't see that, but that's how, maybe we see a flashback or whatever. So he goes up to the cop and he goes, look, man, I have this mask. I'll give it to you, but on one condition. You have to let my brother out. So this kid is like, yo, I can make trades for this thing. It worked with the Chinese girl. Why don't I just do it in reverse, get my brother out? He's kind of clever like that. So the cop, he thinks about it. He goes, all right, I'll make that deal with you, because this mask in the wrong hands is way too dangerous. And this, you know, 19-year-old kid, you know, maybe we'll just let him out, whatever. So the kid shows up with the mask. It's wrapped in a cloth. The brother in like some park. The brother shows up. He's in handcuffs. They hand over the mask. Cop takes a look at it. He's satisfied with it. Unlocks the brother. You're free to go. So now the cop has it. Nobody knows the cop has it, right? And he actually goes to prison. We don't know why. We're kind of, as the audience, we're watching, like, what's he doing in prison? Buzzes in, and he goes and talks to an inmate there, and we don't see who it is. Camera pans around. Jim Carrey, Stanley Ipkiss himself. And, he's looking old and haggard, and he's been in jail the whole time since the 1994. Maybe the implication is he got arrested because he's, robbing banks and doing bad things, killing people. So he's in there for a very, very long time. Now, this cop goes up to Stanley, goes, "Hey man, I need to know, like, what are the long-term effects of wearing this? Are there any side effects, any like delusions or insanity or, mind control or anything like that I need to worry about?" And Jim's like, "No, it's, you put it on, it kind of heightens some part of your personality. Your inhibitions get lowered, but you take it off, you're completely back to normal. It's been over 25 years. I'm completely fine." And Stanley, or like the cop's like, "Okay, cool, good to know." Leaves Jim Carrey in there, goes back to his house, and, he's in his room and he's studying the mask. And, he's overcome with curiosity. He's like, "You know what? I kind of want to try on this mask." So he thinks about it. And then he's like, "All right, screw it. I'm going to do it." So he puts on the mask. He spins around, knocking things over. The kids are downstairs like, "Yo, did you hear that? What's happening?" So like they run upstairs. The dad is like bouncing off the walls. He's out in the backyard. He's like scaring the neighbor's cat. It's a lot of fun. And then he sees his kids and they're all standing looking at him like with like, maybe they're not with cameras, but then he feels kind of guilty or whatever. So he takes off the mask and they're like, "Dad, oh my God, you're the mask." He's like, No, I'm not the mask. I just happen to have it because I made a trade. But long story, like, "Dude, can we see it?" And he's like, "Okay, I'll let you look at it, but like, don't put it on." And it's like, "Come on, please, let me just try it. I'll take it off immediately." And then like the kids are like, "Come on, yeah. And the cop is like, "All right, you can put it on, but like only for like a minute, and then you have to take it off." And the daughter's like, "Cool." So the daughter's the first to try on the mask. She puts it on and she starts spinning out of control, and it's way too much, way too powerful for her. She's too young, right? And she takes off and she's bouncing around the neighborhood. And the cop, like the dad and the friends, get in the car and they're chasing after her, and she eventually makes it downtown. And wouldn't you know, the red mask shows up. The cop, the dad, he's like, "Oh no, like I have to not only apprehend the red mask, but I have to also like protect my daughter because like she might get hurt," right? And there's this moment where the daughter and the red mask are like gonna like face each other, and it's like thunder and lightning, and there's like swirling dark clouds above them. All right, so the clouds part, down from the sky comes the Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm talking Dax and Star-Lord and Rocket Raccoon and Groot. They're like, "What the hell are you guys doing here?" And here we learn some of the backstory that the mask is like forged from Groot's face. I don't know why, but let's be honest, it resembled Groot. So let's put that in there somewhere, right? And Groot's pissed. He's like, "Yo, I'm Groot." And, he's fighting, everyone's kind of battling this red mask, and it's epic. There's like it's a big fight scene. But then like the sun comes up and like the dust clears and the red mask is gone. Nobody knows who it is. And, the cop, the dad, he's got the green mask. He's like, "Well, at least I have this," right? It's the aftermath of this huge battle. There's lots of property damage. The red mask has kind of caused havoc, and nobody knows who it is. And so Star-Lord, and the Guardians of the Galaxy are kind of standing around with the cops. They give some kind of parting message before they take off. The cop is with like the daughter and the friends, and they're like, "Hey, well, let's get you kids home." And just then another cop comes up to him and it's like kind of either whispers in his ear, tells them like, "Hey man, like the prison has been like hit. It's been like the red mask got to the prison." And he's like, "Oh, okay. Like, did anyone escape?" And he's like, "I don't know. We're still trying to do an inventory," right? So then the closing scene, we see some like footsteps, right? Like walking down like a sidewalk or something like that. And some really kind of, nice pants, camera pans up, nice shirt. The guy's walking with a swagger, and it's Jim Carrey. And he's looking like, he's got the swagger and the confidence. He looks in the camera and he's kind of smiling. And camera pans around, he hops into a car, sits in, it's Jim Carrey's point of view, we don't see who he's talking to, and he goes, thanks for getting me, you know, do you have my mask? Camera pans over, who is it? Cameron Diaz. And it's like, no, I don't have your mask, not yet, but we will. And then boom, credits. So there it is, there's my mask pitch. I kind of imply that maybe Cameron Diaz, maybe she's like in that like sexy red dress from the first movie. She's wearing something like that. I don't know, maybe implying that she's the red mask. I don't know. I haven't really figured that part out. But yeah, there it is, my mask pitch. Let me know in the comments if you liked it or if you can think of ways to make it better. And yeah, if you like these kind of pitches, please like my channel, like the video, subscribe, do all that good stuff. And thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.